introduce, remind me your name again, please.
My name is Nandi.
Nandi,
like
okay.
Gandhi, but with an N.
All right, princess. All right. So tell us, you also, I want to know your experience. What really motivates you to come to the Gambia? I want to know that first.
So I think for me, it started young when my mom first exposed me to Africa by taking me to Nigeria as my first African country.
Okay.
And I was able to realize at a young age that as an American, not every Black person lives in poverty. Not every Black person is faced with discrimination and racism. So as I've gotten older, I've learned that that experience is something that I want to hold on to indefinitely. And I had an opportunity in 2023 to come to Senegal, but I also really wanted to come to the Gambia. So I was able to make both those voyages in 2023. And here I am back for my second time, but I'm back now with the intention of bringing more Black people from the African diaspora in America to the Gambia. So I actually just concluded my first curated birthright experience for Black Americans to come to Gambia and to Senegal to learn about their history, their culture, and just the people here, and to form community and try to bridge that divide that we have amongst us.
Oh, beautiful. I have a lot to discuss here. I have a lot of questions for you also. Because, when you start venturing into tall things and then trying to convince people, I'm really proud of you already when you say that, because it's not an easy task, to take certain responsibility, coming with people that never experienced, because you have a lot of responsibility. And then, it's like it's not a headache. I will not call it a headache, but it's a challenge. To move with people, a group of people. It's not one, it's not two. It's a group of people. You need to really be vigilant. You need to, it needs a lot, and you need to be very patient. To do, like. It needs a lot, definitely. So it's a big challenge, but I'm proud of you that you are bold enough that you want to do it. And we're here to support. Trust me.
Thank you.
From dot to dot. Princess Nandi. Hey. Did I say it correctly?
You did.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, let's go. Tell us something about US. Have different vibes with UK. And US is a little bit far than the UK. How do you manage to start bringing people down to the Gambia and the Smiling Coast? How do you manage that, Princess?
Well, I can't speak specifically to the UK because I have yet to actually go to the UK.
Okay.
I can only speak of my Black American experience.
Yeah.
And it's something that I've been talking about a lot more since being in the Gambia, because a lot of people have come up to me on the street and just start talking to me. And one of the things that they are constantly talking about is how America is their dream country, is their dream country.
Yeah.
And I hate to be the person that pops their bubble, but I am gladly doing it because I need them to know that the dream that they are seeing on television, social media is not the lived reality of many Black Americans, especially for the people who are coming up to me being Black men, right? Black Gambian men. And in America, and as I shared with Sis Sandra before, I was like, they are seen essentially as a target or as a weapon or as someone to be feared. So their experience is not likely going to be what they are seeing glorified on television media, and most of them are perplexed and dumbfounded when I say this to them, because they're just like, I don't understand what you mean. And when I break it down to them, and like how George Floyd is like one person that the world has come to know, but there are so many people named George Floyd that they do not know, that are literally at the behest of the government and put into positions of confinement and oftentimes unalived for very small means, and most of the time for them being innocent, right? So, but to answer your question about how do I, get other people to come here as a Black American, is people who have seen me travel, right? They live vicariously through my travels, and I do my best to showcase both the good and the bad and highlight many of the interactions that I have with people on the daily. And in doing so, I think it helps change the narrative about what they expect Africa to be like and what it looks like. And I usually solo travel. So they're seeing it from a perspective of someone who's not doing it in a group, but is doing it on their own accord, who is actually interested in learning and being connected to culture and people. And I think from that perspective, they're able to kind of let their guard down and see that it's not everything that they see on television. There's so much much more, and there's so much beauty, there's so much joy, and there's so much hospitality if you allow yourself to be opened up to it. So from that perspective, people have an interest, and when they have an interest, then I kind of just like pick at that interest and say, well, if you're that interested, you can join me on an excursion. Here's what we'll get involved in, and this is what it looks like, and here are the ways that you can prepare for that. So I do my best to be very honest in my conversations with people, but also to have them see it through my lived actions.
That's right. Again, when you come to Gambia, of course, we have a lot of places that people can visit and they can learn a lot. You can have fun, but you can have also a lot of education. That's like we there is a new word invented in English that is called edutainment. Entertainment. Like you can get education and you can educate in there. Fun there. So, what are some of the areas that you target to go with your people that you want them to see and know about?
Yeah, so the trip that I just did, I called it the Senegambia Cultural Birthright Experience, and it was a 2-week trip. So we started in Senegal, and then essentially like we made like a U. We went down south and came back up north, and we would hit obviously some of the major tourist sites, right? Just because even though it's about cultural exchange and experiences, I also realize this will be many people's first time on the continent. So I think it's important to balance giving them access to some of the tourist stuff in composition with the actual cultural experiences. So we'll do some tourist sites. So we'll go see the Renaissance Monument. We'll go to like Fatala to go, do the safari experience and things of that nature. But in conjunction with that, we'll also go to a school where we'll actually sit down, talk to students, and provide supports and services if we can. Like this trip around, I, had a family members and friends who donated some school supplies and some STEM kits. So I was able to give that to a school in Brikama. I've had, so I was very intentional about making sure that the people that I work with are Gambian and Gambian owned. We've done actual like a cultural exchange where we went to a market and with a family member and figured out and was shown how to go buy food from the market and then take the food from the market to go to a local family and actually cook. So we learned how to make fish yassa and like had conversations with the family in that compound. And I have photos and video of me using the pestle and mortar and
perfect.
And, like,
I love that. That is local cooking class.
So like I do my best to make sure that we temper our expectations, but also open our heart and our mind to the actual lived experience of those that are here. So there are many ways that I can go on and tell you about all the different cultural aspects that we're touching on, but I just wanted to highlight those as like, here's the tourist, but here's also the lived experience that we get to have integration with.
Exactly. I love that. That is the local cooking class. In fact, I really love that because it's important for people to see the way, we cook, how we go to the market and those social life activities is very important because that will stay in their memory for, decades, so it's very important to involve them in those things, It's not only going to visit, but let them get into certain activities like that,
Like actually eating in the traditional format, right? Where you're all around one bowl. Like I've done that and I try to encourage people to do that as well because there's beauty and fellowship in those moments when you're able to convene around one bowl of food and like actually hand to mouth, right? And enjoying the food and like the connection of hand to mouth that actually changes the way in which you digest the food and the process of the food. So like there's so many elements to it that it's more than just like the surface level of I made it to this country and I saw this thing. It's like I made it to this country, I saw this thing and I was able to connect with myself, the community and the culture here on the ground. And I think that expands your horizon, but also opens your mindset to like, what can the future look like when we all come together to do this?
That's right. One of the barriers that in fact there are a lot of barriers that they just structured there to make sure we are not connected. Diaspora's brothers and sisters and the local people. There are a lot of, and even the people, even in the diaspora, within the community in the diaspora, even there are a lot of barriers that they put that we cannot even unite, that we cannot even come together as a people and rise up. You will see even within a group of people of the same race will be arguing unnecessary arguments, and then we have a lot to discuss. to rise up again as Black community. But within ourselves, we'll be doing very unnecessary arguments, and everybody want to be right. Everybody want to be right, and then we will never get to a point. But that is how they structure certain things. So we can continue to be like that till eternity. Now. I always do this quote from Malcolm X, and that's it. Because one of the things that is still making it very, very difficult for us to connect is religious differences. They use that as an advantage on us. But again, Malcolm X said, and I quote, they don't fight us because we are Muslims. They don't fight us because we are Christians. They don't fight us because we are Rastas. They fight us because we are Black. So when we are fighting back, let's fight back because we are Black. But some people are not still seeing this in that point of view. They are just seeing it in like, oh, you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that. Like in Islam, we said, lakum dinukum waliya din. Follow what you believe, and I follow what I believe. But that should never, never divide us. Because we have a responsibility as a people in a community. What's your take on that, sister?
That's a deep one. I feel like this could be a whole conversation topic in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think my brain was working in so many different directions. I feel like I can answer this question in so many different layers. Initially, my first thought was...
It might close.
Sorry.
What you're saying is very important.
Initially, my first thought was... I am someone who truly believes what you just said, in Islam, like regardless of what it is that you believe in, just be who you are and like love and respect one another. I firmly and genuinely and wholeheartedly believe that our ultimate purpose here on this earth is to be loving and kind to people and to yourself and to extend grace most times, right? If not all the time. So I think because your question is such a big question and the response can go in so many different ways, I'm going to try to target it in different directions. So I think in America, we are such a capitalist society and very individualistic in how we live, think, process. We're just all about self. So there is no community. Thank you. There's no community for us as a collective, just as Americans, right? But if you go even further, the communities that we can have, they are subjected to limitations, boundaries, hurdles, whatever the case may be. So as a Black American, I know that in my community, even though we may all have very similar lived experiences, we may not all look alike, but we have very similar lived experiences. There is little unity sometimes in that, right? Because of the history of slavery, right? Because we have light skin versus dark skin. Yeah. And then when you add in religion to that, that further complicates things. When you add in our socioeconomic status, that further complicates things. If you add in your education level, that further complicates things. Yeah. So as a woman who is Black, who is educated, right? Like I have had to go through so many barriers just to achieve half of what I achieved, but then to also have it not be received well in certain communities. So when I go home, I'm not Black enough because I might speak like an educated or a white person, right? And if I don't speak in a certain way, like someone who has an education, when I'm in my circles that are more diverse, it's like, well, you must be from the hood. Like you code switching. What is that? I've never heard that word before, right? So there are just so many levels of things that separate us before we even get to the religious portion of what you just spoke about. So my lived experience is not usually focused on religion. That's not really what separates me in America. What separates me in America is the color of my skin, my social status, my educational status, like all of those, my gender, right? All of those things are the things that separate me before I even get to my religion, right? So I don't have the same lived experience as someone who is in America as a Muslim, right? Because most people who are in America as Muslims typically wear their traditional garb. So they're targeted initially probably for their color, but also because of how they're dressed, right? As a Christian, I'm more spiritual than I am any one denomination. I believe that we are all talking to and praying to the same God, but we just call it different things. But I was baptized Christian at birth, right? So as a Christian, I could walk in the world in America and not wear anything that symbolizes who I might be praying to and what my belief is. But I am also perceived and judged and discriminated against because of how I look and because of my gender. So I think to answer your question, there's no one answer. Yes. There really isn't because, and I'm someone who has a background in government and I worked in criminal justice, right? So if I even get into that systemic racism and like, there's just so many levels of things that separate us that religion to me, and this is not at all a judgment or a dismissive comment, but it's almost the least of my concerns as to why we are so divided. Like, I think it's bigger in other countries, but not necessarily in America. And it could be because I don't walk around in anything that symbolizes what my spiritual or faith connection is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. You really touched that answered very well, you know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that response.
Can I answer that real quick though?
Yeah.
Because I think we think about luxury differently, at least for me. Luxury for me is to have the freedom to exist without feeling the oppressive state around me, without having to feel confined and unable to be me in my full blackness and my full womanness, right? Luxury to me is to have peace, right? To have internal and external joy, right? So luxury to me is not the things that money can buy. It's more about the experience that I'm having and the life that I'm living. So when I come to Africa, that's exactly what I have. Like, I don't come here because I want to live a lavish life because my American dollars might translate to more money. That's not what I'm doing. If anything, many people will tell you that I stay in hostels. I stay in like low budget places. I don't stay in anything luxurious, right? Because for me, it's about my lived experience. It's about the peace that I have here that I don't have back at home. It's about the joy that I experience here that I don't experience back at home. So that's luxury to me. Not high rises, not, air conditioned rooms and big villas. Like, that's not luxury to me. So I think when we talk about luxury, it's like, what does luxury actually mean to you and for you? And why does that hold precedence in your life? Like, why is that a priority? So I think that is the context I would think of luxury through.
That's right. Well, in the Gambia, we are taking it a different way. When we see like big story buildings and then, street and all that. Because like she always said, that's why she don't say television, she said television.
I'm nervous.
Anyway.
Please don't come for me.